Ruth's older brother. I have the pleasure of being his best man and speaking to you all today. I might get a little teary, guys. So when it came to writing this speech, I was a little bit daunted. I think anyone would have trouble really capturing the force of nature that is Kyle. He's super smart. He's always the life of the party. Somehow he's talented at anything he puts his mind to. And I've known him as far back as either one of us can remember. So I came to the conclusion that I can't really paint a portrait of him, at least not in the 5 or so minutes before you all start falling asleep. So I'll draw a caricature. Let me start at the beginning. As I said, I've known Kyle for quite some time. Actually, I've known him nearly twice as long as Sandy, so that's quite a while. He wasn't always this super easygoing guy that you see before you. As a kid, he was, let's say he was a handful. For example, anytime he was telling you a story, he needed you to listen. So what he would do is, if he didn't think you were listening, he would grab your face, turn you towards him, and continue talking at you. And he would do this to adults, so you can imagine the kind of treatment that he would give his one and only brother when he's looking for attention from him. Here's a typical interaction that we have as kids. I'd be off minding my own business. Kyle would have no idea why I was doing anything other than playing with him. So he'd try to get my attention. He'd throw things at me, poke my arm, get really into my personal space. I'd ignore it for a little bit, but then eventually I'd tell him off, and that was when he knew he had me. So he'd throw heavier things, punch instead of poke, or get right up next to me. And then, like any normal person, I'd react, and we'd get into a fight. He would run away and tell Mom how I started a fight with him. Anyway, eventually, after many retaliatory brawls, he would learn better ways to get attention. And I like to think that the only reason that he tells stories and invents games at parties instead of throwing things at people is me. In retrospect, the level of determination and effort that Kyle put on to get attention from his brother is really admirable. He literally risked noogies and Charlie horses to get what he wanted. And when he's motivated, Kyle has always been really good at getting what he wants. And he's been a really hard worker. And the opposite is also true. When he's not really into something, he doesn't really work that hard at it. A prime example of something that Kyle wasn't all that crazy about is school. Now, I don't want to imply that he didn't do well in school. We all know that he's an engineer who literally turns poop into drinking water. You have to be pretty good grades to get a poop. You have to get pretty good grades to be a poop engineer. He was just really good at avoiding working for those grades, and there was no class where he avoided work more than language arts. I'm sure all of us have avoided reading a book or two in school. Kyle took it to the next level. He never read any language arts book in his entire high school career. What Kyle would do, he would always choose the longest book that he could find, Dostoevsky, like these really 2,000-page books. And he would know that the Spark reports for that book would be very long and detailed, and the teacher, if they had read the book, wouldn't remember all the details. Then, on the report itself, for his first report of the year, he would always shoot for like a B-. He'd turn in maybe a rough draft of his work, and then slowly throughout the year, he would add on maybe 1 edit, 2 edits, until, make sure he's going to office hours, until at the end of the year, he's writing almost to the level that he's capable of writing. And his teacher would see this marked improvement, and they'd see that he's trying really hard and going to study hall, so he would always get an A at the end of the year. So far I have described Kyle as a person of extreme passion, so he'll either be all in or all out. And I think that's pretty accurate. The closest thing that Kyle gets to being lukewarm about things is when he'll be really into something, but only for a limited amount of time. For example, his fish tanks. In high school, Kyle decided that catching and eating fish wasn't enough, and he needed to keep some as pets. So he got a fish tank, and he got into it, and almost immediately a bigger fish tank, another bigger fish tank. And his enthusiasm is contagious. So everyone in the house got into it. At one point he got a fish tank that was big enough to swim in, and then he went to college. He kind of cooled off on the idea and realized that every Saturday you have to spend 3 or 4 hours cleaning fish tanks. And so, well, let me just put it this way. There are still 2 80-gallon fish tanks in my parents' house, and none at Kyle's. Let me use that to effortlessly segue into something who, unlike the fish tanks, has been a constant object of Kyle's affection, Samantha. Now, they actually met in middle school and dated for a little while, and I can't speak to their middle school relationship. All I know is that it's one of those weird relationships that only occur in middle school, where they dated for about a week before breaking up. I first met Sammy in high school. I learned about her when someone pointed her out as Kyle's ex-girlfriend. And when that happened, I had a little moment of pride for my little bro, because somehow he had dated someone who was so clearly out of his league. I mean, she was as well put together then as she is now, and Kyle was the definition of awkward gangly teenager. Luckily for Kyle, they ended up doing a lot of activities together. They were both in the plays. They both sang choir. Some point during their junior year, he finally wore her down and tricked her into dating him again. Maybe it was his sparkling personality. We'll never know. But regardless, Sammy has been enriching our lives ever since. So Sammy is the only person, with the possible exception of our saint of a mother, who can possibly give Kyle all the attention he craves all the time. They've been dating for nearly a decade, and they've been chasing after each other a good while longer than that. Anyone who knows them knows that Kyle loves Sammy more than anything. And for some reason, she's also quite fond of him. The closest that I've seen them get to a real fight is when they play board games and they're competitive sides. Sammy, you look great today. And being in our lives so long, it feels good to finally be able to officially welcome you into the family. Now some final remarks on Kyle. For those of you who don't know, there's been a running joke in our family for quite a long time that Kyle has copied me for most of his life. When it came to choose classes in high school and college, he just copied my schedule from 2 years before. When deciding what extracurriculars to do, what schools to apply for, what major to get into, he basically followed me. I think that today no one would argue that the trend has reversed. He is the first to be engaged. Today he's the first to be married. The other day I had to call him for real estate advice because he was also the first to get a house. And while I do think that I was a shining example for Kyle, and he got a lot out of me, it's unfair to say that I didn't get just as much out of him. Brotherhood is a two-way street, and we both benefited. There are a lot of important people in my life that I only know because of Kyle. I do a lot of fun things just because Kyle decides to include me. We made a boat out of an old tarp, built cable bridges across the river, and crafted a cannon out of dry ice, just to name a few things. And it's all because Kyle still occasionally likes to come over and poke me and get me to play with them. All right, I just want to close by saying, Sammy, you make him happier than anything. And Kyle, I don't know if anyone loved anything as much as Sammy loves you. I wish you both a long, happy, healthy married life and all the luck in the world.